You open the cabinet. Your fingers brush past the cinnamon and the black pepper, settling on a small, unassuming glass jar. Inside lie tiny, pale green pods. You crush one between your fingers. Immediately the air changes. A complex fragrance blooms in the quiet of your kitchen. It is sharp but sweet. Minty, yet warm with the scent of crushed pine, citrus, and ancient wood. You drop the split pod into a simmering pot of morning coffee or perhaps a steaming cup of masala chai, and you do not think twice about it. It is just a flavour, just a background note to start your modern day. But hold that cracked pod in the palm of your hand and look closer. You are holding a king's ransom. You are holding the scent that built empires, the seed that launched armadas, and the fragile green gold that men bled for in the dark canopies of the ancient world. This is cardamom, known for centuries as the queen of spices, and its journey to your kitchen cabinet is a saga of monsoon winds, desert caravans, Viking raiders, and the violent birth of global trade. To understand the true weight of this spice, you must leave the comfort of your kitchen. You must travel back over 3,000 years. You're standing deep in the Cardamom Hills, the western Ghats of southern India. The air here is heavy, thick with mist, relentless rain, and the suffocating heat of the jungle. Sunlight barely pierces the dense canopy of ancient teak and rosewood. Beneath your bare feet, the forest floor is a sponge of decaying leaves and wet earth. Look down, growing wild in the shadows, clinging to the damp slopes, are leafy green shoots. At their base, hiding near the root, are the pale, fibrous pods. You are one of the first human foragers. You pluck a pod, bite into it, and your senses explode. It is medicine. It is magic. It is the breath of the gods. For centuries, this wild harvest belongs only to the indigenous tribes of the Malabar coast. They gather the pods during the violent monsoon seasons, drying them over open fires, unaware that the smoke and scent drifting into the sky will soon summon the world to their shores. A scent this intoxicating cannot be contained by the jungle. Time shifts. It is 1500 BCE. You are no longer a forager in the wet hills of India. You are a priest in the sun-baked temples of ancient Egypt. The pharaoh requires embalming. He requires the divine sense of the afterlife to guide his spirit into eternity. You do not know exactly where this green pod comes from, only that it arrives from the mysterious East, carried on the backs of exhausted merchants. You grind the cardamom into a fine powder, mixing it with myrrh and cassia, pressing it into the hollowed chest of a dead king so he might smell like the heavens forever. Step forward 1,000 years. Now, you're walking the marble streets of Rome. The empire is vast, wealthy, and obsessed with luxury. Cardamom has travelled across the Arabian Sea, hauled through the scorching sands of the Levant, and shipped across the Mediterranean to reach these gates. It is outrageously expensive. You watch the wealthiest patricians wear it in amulets around their necks. They steep it in their finest wines. They burn it to sweeten the air of their lavish villas. Pliny the Elder, the great Roman philosopher and historian, complains bitterly about the staggering drain of gold flowing from Rome to India just to satisfy this relentless craving for foreign spices. But the Romans do not know the source. The Arab traders who control the routes have spun wild, terrifying tales to keep their monopoly secure. They tell the Romans that cardamom is guarded by giant flying serpents in valleys of fire. You pay the gold, you do not ask questions. Fast forward to the Middle Ages. The Roman Empire has collapsed in the West, but the spice trade beats on like the pulse of the world. You're now a merchant from Oman, sailing a wooden dhow across the Arabian Sea. You have learned the secret of the monsoon winds. In the summer, the gales blow you east to the Malabar coast. In the winter, they blow you home. Your ship sitting dangerously low in the water, heavy with black pepper, ginger, and the precious queen of spices. But the ocean is only half the journey. Imagine the land route. You're leading a camel caravan across the unforgiving Nafud Desert. The sun is a blinding white fire. Water is scarce. Bandits watch from the dunes, waiting for the cover of night to slaughter your guards and steal your cargo. Every sack of cardamom you carry represents an unimaginable fortune. When you finally reach the bustling markets of Damascus, Alexandria, or Constantinople, you will sell these pods to Venetian merchants at a profit margin of 1,000%. The Queen of Spices is helping to fund the Great Islamic Golden Age. She is funding the Renaissance in Italy. Venice grows obscenely rich. A city of floating palaces built on the invisible foundation of Indian spices. But the kings of Europe grow tired of paying Venetian prices. They grow desperate, and desperation breeds daring. It is May 1498. You are standing on the deck of a battered caravel. The sails bear the red cross of Portugal. Beside you stands the explorer Vasco da Gama. You have just done the impossible. You have sailed down the entire uncharted coast of Africa, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and crossed the Indian Ocean. As the tropical shores of Calicut rise on the horizon, the air smells of wet earth and spice. You have bypassed the desert. You have bypassed the Venetians and the Arab middlemen. You have finally found the source. But the arrival of Europe in the Indian Ocean brings no peace. It brings blood. To control the cardamom, the pepper, and the cloves, the Portuguese unleash unprecedented violence. They bombard the coastal cities. They sink trading dhows. They build heavily armed fortresses along the Malabar coast. You're witnessing the brutal birth of the colonial era. The Dutch follow, and then the British. The British East India Company ultimately takes control of the Cardamom Hills. You watch as the ancient wild foraging gives way to systemic plantations. The jungle is cleared, the local populations are subjugated. The Queen of Spices is no longer a wild, sacred offering. She is a global commodity, managed by accountants in London and harvested by cheap labour. Rivers of silver and gold flow into India, and ships laden with spices flow out, shifting the geopolitical axis of the entire world. Yet, amid the empires rising and falling, the spice finds its way into the hearts of people far from the sun-drenched tropics. Let us look north. How does a tropical spice from the sweltering heat of southern India become the defining flavour of baking in freezing Scandinavia? Rewind slightly to the days of the Byzantine Empire. You are a Viking mercenary, a mighty warrior of the elite Varangian Guard, serving the emperor in Constantinople. You wander the grand bazaars of the city, surrounded by silks, jewels, and foreign tongues, and there you smell it, the sweet, piney warmth of cardamom. When your service ends, you return to the icy fjords of Sweden and Norway, and you bring the Queen of Spices with you. Centuries later, you're standing in a snowy village in Sweden. It is dark and bitterly cold outside. The wind howls against the timber walls, but inside, the oven is radiating heat. You're baking cardamom mabula, cardamom buns. The warm, citrusy, deeply comforting aroma fills the small cabin. In this frozen landscape, the spice of the Indian jungle has become a symbol of warmth, home, and survival. The journey is complete, from the damp, shadowed floors of the Western Ghats to the burial chambers of Pharaohs, from the golden markets of Baghdad to the brutal galleons of the Portuguese Empire, from the grand halls of Constantinople to the snowy kitchens of Scandinavia. Cardamom has conquered the world not by force, but by desire. It wove itself into the very fabric of human culture. It is the soul of Arabian coffee, offered as a sign of deep respect to guests in Bedouin tents. It is the complex heartbeat of Indian garam masala, carrying the legacy of its homeland. It is the soothing, sweet warmth in European pastries. It drove men to cross uncharted oceans. It funded the rise of Renaissance art. It cost thousands of lives in the wars for colonial dominance, and now it sits quietly in your kitchen. Look again at that small, pale green pod. Rub the rough husk between your fingers. Inhale that scent one more time. You're not just smelling a spice. You're breathing in the memory of the ancient world. You're smelling the monsoon rain, the sweat of the desert caravans, the salt of the trade winds, and the boundless ambition of empires. Next time you drop it into your cup, remember the journey, remember the Queen.